Hello and welcome to another Commodore 64 assembly language tutorial video. Alright, so this particular video is the result of a YouTube poll I did, and it seems like the majority of you wanted a video of how to set up the current development environment I use in Windows. So that's exactly what this is all about. Obviously, my main machine, it's all set up. So for this video, we're going to be using a virtual machine. So if the system is a bit slow, that's because it's virtual. So that's how we're going to do it. So what I've got here is I've got a completely vanilla Windows 10 virtual machine. And we're going to set up all the tools that I've used for my previous assembly language cross-development for the Commodore 64. So first things first, I've put together a list of links which will be in the description for everything that I use. Okay, so we've got Visual Studio Code, Kick Assembler, Git for Windows, because my source code uses source code management and it's invaluable. And Git is the sort of industry standard these days. The Commodore 64 debugger, you notice in the last couple of videos I did use the debugger so we could set breakpoints and examine what's in the registers and in memory addresses. WinVice is our emulator that we use to test it. CarPad we use to design custom graphics, characters and maps and tiles, etc. And lastly, this is my GitLab repo. This is where all my source code for these tutorials are, which is normally linked in my description anyway, but we'll download it and use these to test our install. So first thing we're going to do obviously is get these downloaded. So I will use Edge, because I've got no Chrome or anything set up on this vanilla machine, but obviously it doesn't matter what browser you're going to use. So let's get these downloaded. First is Visual Studio Code. I know I'm going to have to get past the Edge security because it probably won't like what I'm downloading. So let's get Visual Studio Code going. Come on, where's this download? Here we go, that's downloading now. So while it's going, let's get Kick Assembler. And there's two downloads here. Well, you download the Kick Assembler itself, and we'll also download the Java runtime environment that it requires because it is a Java file. Okay, so we'll click the latest LTS, long-term support release. So there's three of them come down now. So let's get Git for our source code management. Here comes Git. Okay, so the 64 debugger. Now I think this is one that it doesn't like, or Edge doesn't like it, but we can bypass its security because we're not stupid. Sorts forward, isn't it? This goes around twice sometimes. Oh no, here we go. So here's our security. So we'll do keep, and we'll do show more and keep anyway. So that's downloaded. So the next thing is Vice for our actual Commodore 64. And we'll get the latest. I use the GTK one. I find that the most stable these days. And 3.7. Right, let's see if Edge lets us download this. Yeah, that's coming down fine. Okay, CarPad is the last one. Then go straight into the download there. Let's see if Edge, here we go. God's sake, Edge. Right, we'll keep that, show more, and keep. Right, so now we have everything downloaded. So that didn't take long if you've got a decent internet connection. Let's just minimise that. So let's go to our download area in Explorer. Okay, so what I like to do first is just extract all the zip files. Obviously, I haven't got installed any third-party unzippers, but I hear you can get a free trial of WinRAR. So that's the word on the street. But I'm just going to use the standard Windows one. Okay, car pad's unzipped. So this isn't the fastest computer in the world. I think I've got it running on virtual 8 gigs of RAM. And probably 90% of that is being used by Windows 10 bloatware. Okay, so Vice is unzipped. So 2 more. We've got the C64 debugger. Okay, and last thing is Kick Assembler itself. Right, that's it. Okay, so that's all our files here unzipped. We'll deal with those in a minute. So now we want to install our environment programs, which is Git and Java. So let's get Git installed. Yeah, we need admin access. Okay, now I'm just going to go through all the default options here. You may want to put an icon on the desktop, because it'll install a bash terminal as well. I just click all the default options. Okay, so next, install. And this will allow us to obviously use source code management and track our changes and revert them if necessary, collaborate on them. Git is a very, very powerful tool, and I use it at work on a daily basis. There we go, so I won't bother reading the release notes. Okay, so Java is next. Just going to go through the default options. Give it its admin access rights. This is much less bloated than the standard Oracle Java. Okay, and now VS Code, which is our development environment that I use. I mean, there's other options as Sublime Text or C64 PRG Studio, but I don't believe that you can use the Kick Assembler. So I use these because pretty much most of these tools you can use on any platform, whether it's a Mac or a Linux box, all except CarPad, which is Windows only, but there's ways to get around that. Right, here we go. We are in. Right, let's just do a couple of tests. So I will just click the start bar, run CMD, and run the command prompt just to make sure that everything is installed. So git ---- version. Yeah, it knows where git is, and Java ---- version. And it knows where Java is. Fantastic. Okay, well, we'll keep the command prompt open because we'll be using that in a minute. So, let's get our tools here. We'll cut them and we'll put them somewhere more meaningful. In this case, on my C drive, I'm going to create a new folder called C64 Dev. And then I'm going to paste these in here. Okay, so everything's there, all in one place. And I'm going to create another folder, which will be the root of all our source code repositories. So, let's, first thing we'll do is download our source code using Git. So, we can do this in the command line. Let's just fire up Edge again. Go to my GitLab page where my source code is. And here's my C64 assembly video files. So you do copy the HTTPS clone URL, which will copy it into the clipboard. And on here, I'm going to go into our source code folder, and I will type git clone and then paste the Git URL that we've just copied from the browser. Okay, that's fine. Close this. We now look in source code. We've got the C64 assembly files folder. Bang up to date. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, I suppose, is just make sure Vice is okay. And get that set up exactly how we want it. Okay, so we go into the Vice folder, into bin. And the emulator we'll be using is X64SC. Which is a much more cycle realistic version than the previous. Obviously, if we're developing for the 128 or the PET or the VIC-20, we've all got all these available. These tools will work for all of those. Apart from the debugger, I think. But let's fire this up. And here we go. Windows has protected my PC. So I'm going to go more info and run anyway. Now this may run a little bit slowly because we're running it on a virtual machine, but it seems okay. Let's go to the settings. And I always do save settings on exit, and I untick the confirm on exit. I like to change my machine model. I mean, obviously I'm in a PAL region, so I code PALs, so I'm going to choose the original breadbin 64, so it's got the original SID. And this kernel, see this? Sorry, the original VIC-2 and the original SID there. Okay, and the old CIAs. That's just how I like it. And we'll just make sure that the 1541 drive is set up. Okay, I like to do that. Okay, I do like to use True Drive emulation. I know it's a bit slower, but if you're going to be writing anything that needs to run and save to disk, you want to make sure it's going to work on the real thing. Okay, so I think that should do for now. There's our settings. So let's do a control. Let's just. Just make sure, yeah, that's running how expected. It's not quite as smooth, but obviously where it's running in a virtual machine. But if you're installing it on your PC, it should be absolutely fine. We can close that now. Okay, so let's go back up a level in our folder here. So we've got everything else, and the next thing, I believe it's probably the last thing, is to set up our VS Code. Okay, so close all this welcome. Let's just make it full screen. Okay, and I like to change my theme. As you know, I like to use the Tomorrow Night Blue theme on mine. So you can change it like that. So, as it is, it's really not going to be much use to us. We need to set up the Commodore 64 developer extension for Kick Assembler. So we click this icon here, which is the extensions. Okay, and we'll do a search for Kick. And I use this Kick Assembler one here by Paul Hocker. I used to use this Kick-Ass one, but I've now used this one. And I'll show you how to set it up. Okay. So click install. It takes about 10 seconds or so to download itself and install. Perfect. Right, so it's now going to throw us loads of errors. It can't find Java, Kick Assembler, etc. So we'll close that and close that and close it all off because we're going to fix that now. We can close that. Now we're going to go with File, Preferences and Settings. And we'll scroll down to the Extensions area. Okay. And we have... Oh, Windows is updating itself. Fantastic. Kick Assembler. Okay, so what this wants... It wants file path to our Kick Assembler jar file, first of all. So if we load Explorer up, and we'll go to our folder, Kick Assembler. This is the file we want, kickass.jar. So I think the quickest way is to copy the path, paste it in here, then add kickass.jar. Okay, so we've got more errors here, but we'll go down and do those one by one. So if we scroll down, a lot of these options I haven't bothered with. No extra library paths and everything. Right, so the next one is it wants to know where the debugger is. So we will go up a level here. And here's the debugger. And it's this one, c64debugger.exe. c64debugger.exe. Okay, so let's carry on going down. Emulator runtime is next. So we'll just go in here, and the bin folder. And the file we want is x64sc.exe. So we'll copy this. x64sc.exe. Okay, we'll carry on scrolling down. Java runtime, right. So, because Java was installed to its its native path, which is somewhere in the program files, I don't exactly know where it is. So what we do, we'll go into our command prompt and do where Java. Okay, if you're on Linux, obviously it's which Java, and this will tell you the exact path to where the Java exe is. So we'll copy that and we'll paste that in here. We can dismiss this error. And I believe that is it. So let's give it a test. We'll close our settings. Okay, we'll go File, Open Folder. And we'll browse to our source code and then our assembly video files. So you may, we've got to, I tick this so it will put a trust on everything in the source code folder. Trust the authors. Yeah, it is myself, so I do trust myself most of the time. Okay, so let's fire up this, and this may look familiar. This was the last video for the smooth horizontal scrolling. Okay, so what we can do, we want to run this. So to do the run it through Kick Assembler, do Control Shift P, which brings up your command palette, type in kick. And you see you've got lots of options here. We want build and run. Okay, so we'll click that. Here is our output. Now it's firing Vice up. And there we go. If that doesn't look familiar to you, then you need to watch my previous video, or previous 2 videos. So that's how we test that. And I think that's bound to the F6 now when we've got assembly files. So if we press F6, now that will do it. So every time you save it, you hit F6 and that will build it for you. Let's just check the debugger before we wrap up. Let's pop it breakpoint there. And we'll do Control Shift, save it. Control Shift P. Kick. Build and debug, which is Shift F6, I think. There we go. And there's our debugger. Running a bit slowly. That on here is running terribly. But that's the virtual machine for you. But obviously you've seen that in my previous videos. Okay, I can't remember the how to step in and out offhand. There we go. So yeah, F11. There we go. And that is running now. Okay. That is pretty much all that is required now. Let's just take that breakpoint off and save it. Obviously your car pad, you've seen my tutorials on that. It's right here. And obviously Windows wants to protect you. You've seen this screen before on my previous videos. So what you've now got set up, if you've followed this along, you've got set up the exact setup that I have been using for these videos, or the latest version of it all anyway. Okay, so good luck doing this. It shouldn't be too difficult, and hopefully all is good. If we'd like a newer version of the Mac or Linux equivalent, just drop some comments and let us know what you want. Okay, we'll see you on the next one.